Wolfenstein 3D was far off from being the first FPS, even from our friends over at id Software, but it was the first to set the bar for what we would define as a first-person shooter in this new generation. id Software's previous endeavor, Hovertank 3D and later Catacombs 3D, were the first to incorporate ray casting technology, an at the time sophisticated method of scaling and skewing 2D images to give the impression of traversing a simple three-dimensional space. This was leagues more complex than how first-person perspective games were achieved in the previous 10 plus years, often using wireframes and vector graphics. At the time though, raycasting, even with artificial contrast to give the illusion of depth, was only capable of casting blank, flat colored walls, at least until Blue Sky Productions, a group that would later become Looking Glass Studios, was able to incorporate 2D images as textures in their raycasting engine for their proto-immersive sim Ultima Underworld Stygian Abyss. Stygian Abyss? How do I say that? John Carmack, in his supernatural ability to understand how technology works even at a glance, saw this engine from Blue Sky and thought, hey, I could do that, and then to no surprise, he actually did it, and at less cost to processing power. Catacombs 3D was the first game by id Software to use this updated raycasting engine, an early dark fantasy FPS that was one of the first FPS games to implement key gameplay mechanics that we would later come to commonly associate with FPSs as we know them today. A player mugshot in the corner, blue health vials, colored keys, a player-held weapon, or hand in this case, in the center of the screen, tick-based pseudo-RNG that Doom would later go on to refine, and, as a bonus, a funny skeleton man in a robe acting as the main antagonist, who, in later games, would show up as a weaker, recurring version of itself as a common enemy. Even the demon enemy from Hovertank 3D, which was reused in Catacombs, was clearly a precursor to the Pinky demons in Doom, even if the sprite sheet for it would inspire the Baron. Tom Hall, though, who had his heart set on making a third trilogy of episodes for Commander Keen, gave up on that goal when he saw that Carmack was focusing all of his time and effort into this new raycasting engine, to which at that point he suggested using it for a sci-fi game that he dubbed It's Green and Pissed, before sometime later John Romero suggesting that they try remaking the 1981 PC dungeon crawler castle Wolfenstein, which was a game focused around a POW escaping a fictional Nazi castle, stealing their war plans and delivering it to the Allied forces, even down to its mechanics of using stealth and putting on enemy uniforms to sneak around the guards. This was obviously dropped in favor of a faster game, meant to encapsulate that feeling of storming a Nazi bunker and mowing down SS being its own reward. Hence the screen that would show at the end of the levels how many Nazis you killed, encouraging the player to partake in America's favorite pastime of mowing down Nazis. Or at least, you know, what kids from my generation were told was America's greatest pastime. Wolfenstein 3D started production before they even knew that they could use the IP for the game. They contacted the IP holder Silas Warner only to find out that the studio went bankrupt back in '86 and were able to grab the IP for a mere $5 grand. That was back in April 1992, and if we adjust for inflation today, that's still around 10 grand, but I mean for copyright, that's still pretty cheap, though they still came up with other names for the game just in case, which is a relief because some of these names would really have not caught on as well in my personal opinion, though Castle Hollahammer would at least be reused in the game's setting for the second episode. John Romero and Tom Hull, the former who designed a bulk of the levels for Wolf 3D, took direct inspiration from Pacman mazes for the maps, an inspiration that would later lead to a Pacman based secret level later on, though Romero, being the man focused on presentation and substance that he was, obsessed over the design and appearance of the game above all else, urging Carmack to implement objects to the world that would act as garnishes, some not solid, others impassable, some purely cosmetic such as lights hanging from the ceiling, statues and pillars, everything that you would come to expect from an interpretation of a Nazi castle. Carmack even wanted to take it a step further and have animated wall textures, something that wouldn't be realized until Doom. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it work here. The game originally was going to go even harder with its anti-fascist messages to educate the player on the human rights atrocities that the Nazis committed back in World War II, but removed them to avoid any more controversy than they were already anticipating. To which I say, the cowards. At least Machine Games had the balls to do it. Even then though, the publisher at the time was still concerned about violence and shocking content of the game, which only led to Adrian Carmack adding even more shocking imagery to the game, like skeletons, bloody wall textures, idle corpses, and a MIDI rendition of the Nazi anthem, which I think is taking it a little bit too far, and I really considered not even playing it into this video to give any Nazi apologists a feeling of gratification. But if the Nazis were able to appropriate the swastika into a symbol for hate, then I and id Software can appropriate their anthem into a theme for slaughtering them. The premise of the game was adjusted from an American soldier fighting his way out of Castle Wolfenstein, recovering Nazi plans to deliver to the Allies, and finally killing Hitler himself. And in May of 1992, the shareware episode of the game was released onto Apogee's website, with the first 3 episodes of the game releasing sometime later for $30 a pop. Again, after inflation, that's about $60 today. Later, a $20 expansion called the Nocturnal expansion was released, and a $10 official hint book, which offered a ton of insight into the development of the game, which I'll be citing throughout the rest of the video, came to a total of $60 for the whole package back in '92, or $120 today. And then, come on, do you really need to tell me how big of a hit this game was? Yeah, I don't think Wolfenstein itself was as influential to the industry as Doom or Quake was in terms of substance, but it was a huge step forward for that engine's arm race that led to the crazy innovation we would see later on. And goddamn was it a pretty big step. No shit the game sold well, especially after their previous smash hit with Commander Keen, with an engine that would later be used in commercial releases for the next couple of years, peaking with Super 3D Noah's Ark, and also Rise of the Triad. If you buy the game today off Steam and boot it up, you might be wondering why I said the final product shipped with 3 episodes when the game clearly has 6. That second batch of 3 episodes was that Nocturnal Missions expansion pack that it originally sold separately with. A lot like Episode 4 in classic Doom, for example. Episodes 4 through 6 are commonly regarded as being not good, and I agree. We'll get there after we recap the first 3 episodes. But all you need to know for now is that the quality control seemed to be lacking. I remember reading somewhere that each map in this Nocturnal expansions was only given a single day of dev time, but that might have been a miscommunication. Scott Miller learned that the average time it took to develop a map for the Wolf 3D engine averaged about a day, which is what led to him inspiring the team to make another expansion. I think maybe something just got missed there, like a game of telephone. Alright, so I want you to hold on to everything I just told you about the engine and how important it was, and just take it as consideration, because I'm going to be using the EC Wolf source port for this playthrough. Trying to play the original release of Wolfenstein 3D on DOSBox as it comes on Steam just didn't do it for me, and I'm gonna blame the lack of dedicated strafing keys. I talked about the strafing toggle key back in my Quake Scourge of Armageddon video, but this was a game that took full advantage of it. Remember when FPSs were controlled exclusively by keyboard? Not with dedicated turning and strafing keys, but with an alt key toggling the arrow keys between turning and strafing? Hey, I totally respect people who played the game like this back in the day, and even today. It's not for me though. I want dedicated strafing keys to play it like a modern shooter, and given that like every console port for the game added these dedicated strafing keys back then, yeah, I don't think that it's that big of a deal. So you play as William Joseph Blazkowicz, shortened to B for Billy, which is also short for William J. Blazkowicz. Yes, a man abbreviated to BJ is going to single-handedly take down the Third Reich, and I can't think of anything more cathartic if I tried. Canonically, before the events of Episode 1, he had already made a pretty big hit against the Nazis' chemical warfare, but this first trilogy of episodes is how BJ became a symbol for freedom and justice, where it's presumed that he became homeless shortly thereafter, but that's not canon, I hope. Gameplay is about what we expect. 4 weapons, 1 being used for a knife as a last resort, though unlike Doom and later id games, all 3 weapons chew through the same pool of ammo, merely increasing their fire rate. Believe it or not, they actually don't have separate attributes for how they determine accuracy, despite it really feeling like they do. Colored keys open colored doors, though this time they're gold and silver, and the color of the door doesn't matter because they mix up the sprite used for it all the time. Walk over food and items to pick them up to heal yourself or grant ammo, and every 40,000 points grants BJ an extra life. Yes, this game has a live system, and it's not like 1-ups that were later used in Doom Eternal that were more like extra health bars, but traditional 1-ups. If you die, you're back to the beginning of the level with just a pistol, and an extra life is consumed. If you run out, you're back to the beginning of the episode, which only happened to me once in the first level of Episode 2. You'll see why. I'm gonna be running this game on I Am Death Incarnate, the equivalent of classic Doom's ultra-violence difficulty, and to take it a step further, I played as much of this as I could without quick saves, which I quickly developed an exception for when I got to the second episode, and then just completely threw this rule to the side about midway through Episode 4. But with that said, let's jump into it. Episode 1 is shareware. Please do not distribute episodes 2 through 6. It's easy to do, but the next game will cost more money. Yeah, that sure sounds backwards. Hey there, kid with no money who literally cannot afford to play our game. Remember to pay full price for it, or else the next game will be even more unaffordable. Episode 1 begins with BJ in a cell armed with a pistol with 8 rounds and the corpse he looted it off of. And that's all you really need. Go kill Nazis in this bizarrely blue Nazi dungeon. Guards are going to be your first obstacle. A flat 25 HP and drops 4 rounds of ammo on death, netting you a profit if you're able to kill one with 3 shots or fewer. You'll learn pretty on that the meta for taking out large groups of enemies is to alert all the guards in the room, lead them to a bottleneck of some kind, most often a door, and blasting them the second they show their face. Enemies can open doors, so you don't need to keep them open at all times, though that doesn't exactly stop me. You might think this is an exploit and not the intended way to play, but it's told to us directly in the hint book. Just don't forget the machine gun behind this push wall. Yeah, get used to these kind of secrets because there's gonna be a lot of these in the run. I went into this hoping that I could go for 100% secrets, but there are some maps where that's literally impossible. Carmack originally declined the idea of a secret push wall when Tom Hall proposed it early on, only to add it into the game and not even tell Tom about it. Nice, dude. That's a galaxy brain play for sure. In this first push wall, we grab the machine gun, my personal weapon of choice for most of the game. It chews through ammo at a moderate pace. It sounds okay, a little pea-shootery, but that's really all I could ask for. There's really no reason to go back to the pistol. I do because I didn't understand how hit scan was calculated before recording this, which I'll explain in just a little bit. I'll tell you, there's nothing more satisfying than firing into a room and hearing a ton of Nazis waking up knowing that they'll soon arrive at the end of my barrel. We are, of course, taking the secret exit here, one that I already knew about thanks to Doom 2, but just feels kinda weird in retrospect to have a secret exit in the first level. There's only one of these per episode. Strangely long for being one of the second levels in the game. The only reason I voluntarily revisit this level is if I'm doing a no saves run and need to grind treasure for 1-ups, which actually isn't even a bad idea. I capped my lives about 10 minutes into the level. The path to the elevator to end the level is pretty straightforward, literally, and gives us a nice tease of the more non-linear level design we're going to be seeing a lot more of later on with these golden keys. As well as the SS, the spongiest non-boss enemies in the game at 100 health, and drops a machine gun for the player if they don't already have one. You can exploit this if you want to min-max your ammo pickups, since picking up a machine gun yields 6 bullets rather than the 4 from the magazines you pick up, though that also means killing all the SS on the map with just a pistol, which, yeah, I'll pass. Not much else to say about this level, let's just wrap it up. Oh shit, sorry, wrong room. Checking each of these cells for loot gets pretty monotonous pretty quick. More often than not, I find dog food rather than treasure. Oh right, Nazi dogs. Normally I'd feel distraught over killing dogs, but they're Nazi dogs. They made their choice. Literally 1 health point and equipped with a melee attack, making them the least threatening enemy in the game, no matter how many there are. It's an odd choice to use German Shepherds as the Nazi dogs though, since the Nazis used German Shepherds, but they were more messengers, search and rescue sort of things. If memory serves, the Nazis used Rottweilers as attack dogs rather than German Shepherds. It's not really too surprising. Remember, Bobby Prince had to remind the team several times that not all Germans are Nazis, so it was clearly some kind of societal disconnect. Speaking of disconnect, the chain gun. BJ's tool of choice to disconnect Nazis from life. Just look at that smile, look at him. That's a happy young man right there. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't use the chain gun very much whenever I played this game on normal difficulty, and I didn't see its full potential until trying Death Incarnate. It's great for spraying wildly as you sprint to cover, mowing down rooms consisting of more than 1 SS, and near guaranteeing the enemy won't shoot you while you're firing. I don't know why Nazis loved gold and holy symbols so much, but if they're hoarding them, that means that I'm gonna take it instead. How many people do you think played this game back in the day without a guide or an auto map of some kind, and had no idea that this map was shaped like a swastika? You can find a healing pizza in the middle of it, which I only assume was an allegory for how breaking through the core of Nazis is healing. Alright, yeah, that's a stretch. Fuck! Alright, well there's my first death of the run, the first of unfortunately many. That also means it's back to square one with just the knife and pistol. It's not the worst level to die on though, because the chain gun is right here at the beginning. Man, it feels so gross picking up the chain gun before the machine gun. Or I guess the chain gun gives you the machine gun as well? I never knew that. Well, that's all secrets and treasure, but I'm missing one kill. Oh well, no use crying over... God damn it, the bastard went off script. I had this whole bit planned where I cried over missing this one dead Nazi and then opened the elevator to kill the one that jumps out to surprise you. But nope, this guy just had to find me on his own. Alright, fucker. Oh, it's gonna be like that. Did you know that Tom came up with other names for the game, including Castle Ochtenstein, Luger's Run, The Fourth Reich, Adolf's Bane, Hard Cell, Luger Me Now, Thank You Very Much, Castle Hasselhoff, How Do You Dusseldorf, Castle Verlassen, Sturmwind, Hollerhammer, Schattensendener, Geruchselect, I'm using Google Translate for these, Dolfteifer, Grabner, Eisenschwert, and Dämmerung? Why did the notebook not mention this in episode 2? Whatever, I have nothing to say for this level. The massive hallway with SS firing you from between the pillars in E1M7 is an iconic moment for me. Hull thought this would make for a cinematic experience for the player, that having two guards firing at you perpendicularly from the elevator would certainly create some tension. He apparently came up with this idea going to sleep one night, so that's the kind of level design we're dealing with here. For what it's worth, I think it holds up alright. After dying a few times to the hordes, I realized that the best strat for pistol starting this map was to loot a machine gun off of the SS at the southwest corner of the map. I needed it if I wanted a remote chance of surviving. Okay, I'm starting to run low on ammo. I could really use some of that. Motherfucker. Yeah, I ended up losing almost half of my lives here, most of which I lost in the same room because I really struggled without a machine gun. This led me to finally look up how hit scan and damage is calculated in Wolf 3D after the fact, because these damage numbers are all over the place. Determining if the player is even hit by hit scan in the first place is the distance on the grid from the player. I'm gonna be calling these blocks from here on. So you take the number of blocks the player is away from the enemy, multiplied by 16 if the player is inside of the enemy, or by 8 if the player cannot see the enemy but is in range, all subtracted by 160 if the player is running, or 256 if they aren't, and then seeing if that number is larger than a randomly generated number between 250 or not. If that number generated is higher than that randomly generated 256 value number, that means the player is hit and calculates another formula depending on damage. If the player is less than 2 blocks away, then it's a randomly generated number between 0 and 250, which I'll explain as x in this example, divided by 4. If they're between 2 and 4 blocks away, then it's x divided by 8, and if you're more than 4 spaces away, divide by 16. If the shooter is an SS though, then the distance is inherently multiplied by 2/3. The wiki that explains this is saying that the SS are better shots, but that doesn't make sense if it's multiplied by 2/3, because multiplying a whole number by a fraction would lower the value of it, so I'm assuming that it means multiplied by 1 2/3. This also means that at most, being 4+ blocks away from the enemy, you can take maximum damage of, and I'm rounding up here, 16 damage per shot from an enemy, and a high of 64 damage when shot from less than 2 spaces away. Damage coming from BJ is a bit simpler. If you're further than 4 blocks away, the hit scan will only register if a number between 0 and 250 divided by 12 is less than the distance away. Damage is guaranteed to hit when you're less than 4 blocks away though, where damage beyond 2 blocks away is RNG 255 divided by 4, and RNG 255 divided by 6 if you're more than 2 blocks away. Maxing out at, and again rounding up, 64 damage and 43 damage respectively. The takeaway from this should be to avoid the most damage possible, stay running at all times, not look at the enemy, and be more than 4 blocks away from them. But to maximize damage, stay less than 4 blocks away to guarantee damage, or be less than 2 blocks away from the enemy if you have a death wish. The former is obviously not ideal for Death Incarnate. Again, I didn't even think to look this up until after I recorded all of the footage used for this. I'll probably just remember it when I move on to Spear of Destiny sometime in the future. Alright, where do we go after that? E1M8 has this weird push wall path. It's not really much of a maze, but each of these push walls count as a single secret, bringing the secret total count here up to 13. Oh, don't worry, it gets worse as we keep playing. E1M9, the first of 6 dedicated boss maps, and the first map to introduce us to Hans Gross. Putting that in Google Translate says that it translates to Grosse, the last of his siblings to be slain by BJ in canon, which includes his sister Gretel. Get it? Hansel and Gretel? Yeah, that fairy tale about kids being lured in and eaten by a witch, except here they're being lured in by the Nazi party. Tomato, tomato. He's got some brothers too, which act as as easier versions of Hans as normal enemies. He's not that smart, no surprise. Even on Death Incarnate, his telegraphs are night and day. Just go behind cover whenever you see him telegraph, don't think about it more than that. Hans, as well as all of his siblings, are programmed to drop a gold key on death, rather than activating the end level boss screen like the rest of the bosses do. This Hans is unique though, with a hit scan formula identical to the SS, meaning he's got a higher chance of hitting you from farther away, making him easily the most dangerous of his siblings, which is made even worse when you realize bosses don't flinch, so it really just becomes a game of peeking in and out of cover. In the hint book, Kevin Cloud suggests leading him to a secret room where you could fire at him and constantly run over food to keep healing yourself. The only issue here is that I'm on Death Incarnate, and one single volley from his chain guns is enough to kill me. In retrospect, I don't even know why I tried that. Honorable mention, I fucking hate this boss music. Not for the music itself, but because of the ad-lib sound card. It's so fucking grating on my ears by the time I make it to the end. Just please make it stop. BJ jumps in joy, finally escaping the castle holding him prisoner for an undisclosed amount of time. Oh, hey, I wasn't done reading that shit! Missing 1% of all treasure. Yeah, that sounds about right. Congratulations! You run out of the castle and hook up with the underground, informing you of the rumors of hideous human experiments that were seen around Castle Hollahammer. The fabled Operation Eisenfaust, or Iron Fist, is real, and dare I say, it might be worse than the Netflix adaptation. Terminate the Nazi scientist, Dr. Schaubs, before an army of the undead march against humanity. Wait, hold on, literal Nazi zombies? How long has that trope been around for? I thought that was a Call of Duty thing. Hey, wanna know why I made an exception for episode 2 to my no quick save rule? Oh my god. Episode 2 introduces the patent-pending Nazi zombies, the mutants. The only enemy in the game with a flinch window so short that it's completely possible that it will shoot you in between shots from your machine gun, meaning stun-locking them with the pistol or even the knife is impossible. And that fact is made even worse when you learn that they're the only non-boss enemy in the game, aside from a unique enemy that appears later on, to have scaling health across difficulties, with 45 HP on Daddy difficulty, easy, and 65 on Death Incarnate. Now, that's only a difference of 20 health, which you might think isn't too much, but then when you inevitably do a no quick saves run and you're forced to pistol start some of these maps, you start to realize how big of a difference that 20 health makes. Oh, and that's even leaving out the best part. Yeah, your ears aren't fooling you. They don't have a wake-up noise, meaning you could activate a whole room of these fuckers and not even know it until you're full of lead. Honestly, I always thought that they just had a gun grafted to their chest, but they actually have a third hand sticking out of their chest that's holding a gun that fires whenever they salute, as if that makes any difference though. I got a game over on this map because I just kept fucking up my routing. Though since it's the first map, it's really not that punishing, and after a lot of trial and error, you learn that there is a machine gun dead ahead. The chain gun is also behind a push wall near the entrance of this level, and of course we're going to be taking the secret exit. That's just the kind of show that this show is, as of the last year or so. Oh, this party hasn't even started yet! There are Nazi guards that are held up in these blocked off cells, making me believe that there's some environmental storytelling implying that they're hiding from the mutants, but that doesn't make sense. The only door in this main room that you spawn in leads directly to the exit elevator, with the rest of the level tucked away behind 56 push walls. Hell, sometimes you even gotta push 2 walls back to back to get a move on. God damn, Tom Hall, lube me up before you send me down the deep end. But hey, it's not all for nothing. You did it, champ! Here's a fuck ton of gold crosses to make sure you get at least 1 extra life for your hard work. Just remember where these pockets of health and ammunition are so you can come back to heal yourself when you need it. Honestly, you should remember that anyway for the rest of the game going forward. Absolutely brutal opening with these mutants cock-blocking you from the get-go. If you die, you're basically screwed because you gotta book it to the red brick section of the map to take out the normal guards and SS just to get a machine gun and the gold key while also avoiding the mutants that will inevitably hunt you down. But once you get past them, it's pretty smooth sailing. Alright, we got a silver key now. That's 2 different colored keys to keep track of. Unfortunately, that's where it peaks. Remember though, these locked door textures aren't consistent. Aside from that though, it's another straightforward map. I still died a couple of times in this opening room where you grab the gold key, but there's an SS at the beginning to grab your machine gun back, and not 1 but 4 rooms filled to the brim with treasure to boost your score and lives. Oh, you fucker. You gotta be really careful with this long haul of mutants. You can do that thing that you do in a lot of other shooters like this where you peek in and out of cover and shoot whenever you bounce in, but holy shit is it archaic here. You stop on a fucking dime in the Wolf 3D engine. Obviously, it's a relic for the time. I'm not gonna shit on the game for this. However, I am still going to complain. It feels really weird. This trick is going to get a lot more use once we get to the nocturnal missions. Yeah, this map sucks on Death Incarnate. These mutants will catch you off guard and shred your health down, which I guess is the game's way of teaching you to pre-fire around every corner to guarantee stun locking whatever could potentially hit you. But because of the mutants and how fast they fire once they wake up, you really need the chain gun to get the maximum use out of it. Otherwise, you still risk getting blasted, and they will blast you the second they see you. Oh great, a map shaped like a massive anti-Semitic boomerang. Each of the branching arms are at least nice enough to color code itself with different materials, blue, brick, wood, etc. It's also not a bad idea to get in the habit of firing the millisecond you open a door, because even though you still collide with the door while it's opening, hit scans don't follow the same logic. As soon as you interact with the door to open it, your guns and your targets will act like that door is wide open, and you will inevitably get killed while the door appears to be mostly closed. It's just another relic of the time. Oh, fuck you. Okay, nope, I don't like these walls. And no, it's not lean. I love lean. The hint book implies that this pink ooze is actually blood from the mutants, which turns a purplish pink during the conversion process. I can only wonder how many mutants they went through to paint the entire wall of this floor. Oh, I get it now. Which elevator do I choose? Eeny, meeny, miny. Oh, fuck. No, it's okay. We got this. Oh, this fucking sucks. Oh, this isn't good. Hey, anyone got any floor pizzas? Alright, sir, I mean this as disrespectfully as I can. Please give me that gun. Fuck! So this is a short level where you can run straight to the exit elevator, which is right next to where you spawn. Unfortunately, that's not the kind of run we're doing here. Oh, what's this? Is this environmental storytelling? Damn, I hope whatever's in here is actually a big deal. Actually, hold on a second. I don't want to fucking die. Alright, that's better. Holy shit, that could have gone so much fucking worse. Oh boy, E2M8, the home of the infamous Ardwolf maze. A massive pushwall maze taking up over half of the west side of the map, consisting of non-canon Hans brothers, a good amount of treasure, 1-ups, and a Call Apogee Say Ardwolf post. Well, okay, it's not actually there anymore. The graphic was there in the original release of the game, but as soon as Wolfenstein 3D hit digital stores like Steam, for example, they took the texture out of the game to avoid a whole slew of calls. I'm not even sure if the number is the same anymore. The maze is a bitch. I wouldn't even have attempted this without a map of some kind. I used this one off of Joe Siegler's blog from 3D Realms, but you gotta be careful because once you get to the end, there's actually 2 push walls, each leading you in a different direction and fucking you out of the other. Taking one will lead you to a Hans brother, which is mandatory if you're going for all kills, and the other takes you to the Ardwolf room, which is now replaced with a skeleton and a 1-up. If we ignore the Ardwolf puzzle, there's only 3 push walls on this map. Oh god, what did I just walk into here? I hope you guys are just vibing and not fiddling with bugged pathfinding. Is it supposed to look like that? I feel bad. Not for them though, they're Nazis. Pixelated Nazi toilet. Dr. Shabs, the big bad doctor who's responsible for the Nazis' army of the undead, and now wants BJ to join his mutant militia. He's mean, obscene, and wants you green. I didn't come up with that, I'm not that clever, that's from the hint book. He's got 2400 health on Death Incarnate and yields a projectile as his weapon of choice against BJ. Yes, a projectile weapon in a game that up to this point has been exclusively hit scans, which, holy shit, is that a breath of fresh air. Simply strafe to the side to dodge his syringes and you're more than equipped to deal with this guy. Especially after firing through a massive horde of mutants at the beginning of the map, that's honestly the hardest part of it. Thankfully, like all boss maps, there's still a pocket of health and ammo to help you get into shape just before the primary encounter. Shabs is the first dedicated boss NPC of the game, meaning that once he dies, we get to see that slow-mo replay of his death upon killing him. The same one that was added to the game in response to the game potentially being too violent at the time. As a kid, this guy always reminded me of Number 2 from The Kids Next Door, but my refined, up-to-date cartoon palette now can't unsee Blendon Brandon from Gravity Falls. Fuck, that show was so good. You stand over Shabs' putrid body, glad your mission is finally over. Yeah, I'll say, if I see another mutant-infested castle, I'm gonna do something mildly inconveniencing to my toilet, though the Nazi threat is never over until you cut off the head. Our mission now is simple. Infiltrate the crumbling Third Reich's Titanic bunker Infiltrate the crumbling Third Reich's Titanic bunker and terminate Hitler. Oh man, you make it sound so easy. Actually, it is, because aside from a secret level in episode 6, we never see the mutants again. We got a couple of new enemy types between here and there, but they don't even compare to the fucking Nazi zombies. Alright, it's back to basics, just Nazis and castle walls. But with a new episode comes a new Nazi descent 6 feet under. The officers, a glass cannon, 50 HP, only half of that of the SS, but they're fast, aggressive, and serpentine left and right towards the player. An interesting chess piece to introduce to the board. This map also has Morse code playing in the music that I thought would be something basic like an SOS or whatever. But no, it actually reads, and I quote, "To Big Bad Wolf from Little Red Riding Hood, eliminate Hitler, imperative, complete mission within 24 hours, out." A fitting Easter egg to put into the first song you hear in episode 3, where our mission is literally to eliminate Hitler. Oh yeah, I guess it's not too late to bring up the music. Honestly, if it weren't for the ad-lib sound card that delivers some really chunky noise that sounds like a Sega Genesis about to go critical, this soundtrack would be a lot more digestible. That said, there is a pretty good library here. Several tracks stand out, taking cues from the American anthems and propaganda, which creates a surprisingly consistent atmosphere for the time. A personal favorite of mine is Suspense, playing an E1M4 and E1M8. I just love that deep warbly note that kicks in every 8 beats or so. I'd had this song stuck in my head for hours after playing the game and writing the script. It's kind of hard to put into words. The Nocturnal missions, being that they're a basic expansion, only gets one new song, and it's arguably for the most bullshit stage in the game. We'll get there soon. E3M2, a level Romero designed specifically to be filled with death traps alluring to the curious eye. I don't know what he was talking about though, because I thought it was pretty easy. Let's see. I beat E3M3 100% under the par time. Yeah, these levels are starting to get kind of short. E3M4 has a lot of officers in it. Let's see, what else? Alright, I'll shit you not, I don't have a single note written down for E3M5. That's just kind of the levels we're dealing with here. But hey, it might be a matter of preference, but I'd rather deal with these than have to deal with the mutants again. It's just boring, it's not unfair. E3M6 at least tries something new with its big steel maze to get the gold key, and shoves a bunch of these officers behind pillars that you can shoot through but can't move through, making it feel incredibly rewarding once you find that secret entrance into their back rooms to mow them down with a chain gun. While not great advice all around, the way that I like to deal with these mazes is always turning left whenever I'm put at a choice to turn. It's not a perfect solution for every maze, but it works. And if there is no choice, say your only options are going forward or turning right, just go forward, because that's the closest there is to a left. It's obviously not a perfect solution to every maze, but it works a lot for the mazes in Wolf 3D, especially here. I'm out of ammo. Time to resort to the only way I know how to survive, by sitting at this corner and knifing every Nazi that comes out at that choke point. Yeah, I don't know why I thought that would work. We're gonna be taking the secret elevator out of this map, but you still gotta open the main elevator to kill this officer hiding inside of it for 100% kills. They try to fake you out of this secret exit by putting a silver key door in front of you in a map that doesn't even have a silver key. There's a push wall to the side of it that takes you to the maze that leads you to the secret exit behind another push wall by this collection of treasure. I wouldn't be too surprised if some players back in the day just thought that the treasure was all there was to this area. Imagine making it all the way here, not realizing that there's a secret exit right there. Holy shit, it's Pacman! Yo, 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 motherfuckers! Ah! Out of the way, fuckers! Blinky's got a warrant out for my ass cheeks! Yeah, that was fun. A bit underwhelming, but the music was really cute. And I love these legally distinct packing ghosts. It's a fun secret that everyone should experience at least once in their lives. Welcome to Tom's Gauntlet, a level where he wanted you to face this brutal onslaught of Nazis before you make it to Hitler's lair. He really wanted to make you work for that kill. Yep, I see what he meant. Alright, let's wrap this shit up. Yeah, okay, thanks for putting barrels back to back here to make it practically impossible to hide from the hordes. Good shit, Tom. Holy shit, it's him! It's Nemesis from Catacombs 3D, but instead of a skeleton, he's a pussy! Yeah, these are fake Hitlers, if it wasn't obvious. 500 health on Death Incarnate, and the only non-boss with a projectile. In the original release of the game, these fireballs were tied to your CPU speed, except not in the way that you might think, where the faster the CPU, the faster the balls. It's actually the opposite. If you're playing on a higher-end PC, then the balls actually move slower, and can be subjectively more dangerous that way. Not seen here though, the projectiles can't pass through non-solid objects, meaning that you can really just hide behind some of these and open fire. I don't see the point though. Oh shit, he's got a mech! He's Mecha Hitler! God, what a fucking name. One that's lived on for decades because of the sheer absurdity of it. You know, this game really misrepresents the guy. If this were real life, he probably would have shot himself once he heard that BJ was nearing his chamber. At the very least, I don't think he'd have the balls to face him outside of his mech, even with his double chain guns. He's just a tougher Hans with a second phase that moves a bit faster. He still telegraphs his attack as bright as day, and despite only having half of the chain guns outside of his mech suit, it still fires the same, so you still need to be careful. His mech has 1200 health and Adolf himself has 900. Again, just being a slightly different Hans. But honestly, I mean, at this point, I could really care less. Fuck yeah, let me see that again. BJ stands over Hitler's splattered visage, kicks his head off his remains, and spits on his corpse. The Third Reich has been ceremoniously slain by a man named Blowjob. But hey, the adventure isn't over yet, at least for the player. We still got 3 more episodes to go through, but they're not a sequel, instead being a prequel telling the tale of how BJ ended up getting captured in Castle Wolfenstein to begin with. Not like it really matters though, you're not really playing this game for its narrative. Though to completely ignore what I just said, this is canonically the end of the Wolfenstein 3D family of games, since Spear of Destiny is a prequel as well. So enjoy knowing that all of these games lead up to some Hitler giblets. Whoa, okay, that sure is a new wall texture. Episode 4 may be a prequel telling the tale of how BJ stopped the Nazis' chemical warfare before taking up his main mission to steal Nazi war plans and kill Hitler, but that doesn't mean it's any easier than episode 1. Okay, actually, I don't know if anyone's actually thinking that, but I did because I am stupid. Being able to see a texture representing the outside of the castle is a nice touch though. Greens, blues, nature, something we're all about to leave behind for the future of Nazi killing. I don't have a lot to say about E4M1, so I'm gonna resort to the hint book. Did you know that id originally considered having Hitler Youth attack the player with knives, and also hid posters of David Duke spelling David Puke around the area? These were cut for the same reasons that the Nazi atrocities were cut from the story. Well, that's depressing. E4M2 lives on forever in my memory for being the first level that managed to soft lock me because of bullshit push walls. A common theme that we're gonna be seeing more than once from here on. If you're going for all secrets, which I don't recommend at this point, you'll need to make sure to activate particular push walls in order when going in and out of said secrets. Otherwise, you're going to miss some secrets, or worse, just get stuck. Kinda sad that the level with symmetrical corners and a secret that'll fuck your wife is the highlight of this episode. It's always a good sign when you enter a level and immediately get loaded up with ammo and health. Uh-oh. If you die a lot like I did, don't worry, there's a chain gun here in this brick section just before the hordes. I still died a lot. Oh, fucking terrible level. Okay, so look at this map. Each of those white arrows is an officer, and they're all close enough to wake up the minute a single one of them wakes up. There is no safe haven here except for the single secret next to the start of the map. But I fucking died, and there isn't another weapon in this map. This is also before I gave up on my no quick saves rule, so this is kind of on me, but my only choice for an E4M10 pistol start run was to activate the enemies, run into the secret, and then mash my knife button over and over. Because see, even though enemies can shoot through each other, they can't move through each other. So you just gotta get that sweet spot right, looking at the doorway and knifing them the second they step foot in the room. This was my only option if I didn't want to reload my save, but I did it. It took me almost 7 minutes of constantly mashing mouse 1, but I fucking did it. Oh, are you kidding me? There's still a stray out there. E4M4 has a push wall that forces you to decide between ammo or health, though you're not gonna know that without looking at a map. For whatever reason, this push wall is programmed to go one of 2 ways, one leading to health and the other to ammo. But it's not like E4M1 where it depends on which order you push multiple push walls, and doesn't cuck you out 100% secrets regardless of which path you take, so that's nice. Ah shit, we got another straggler.
Beyond!
Gotcha, bitch. Tom says that he tried to make the dogs dangerous for E4M5, but when you have an enemy with only 1 health point, I find that really hard to believe. Yeah, no, a single guard is more dangerous than all of these dogs. This map is filled with fake elevators with a barrel inside of them so you can't actually use them. Sometimes there's a Nazi behind it that you can kill though. And by filled with these fake elevators, I mean that there's 3 of them like this, and the one that you need to find to exit the level is on the far east side of the floor. Hey, did you know that you could drink the blood off the floor if you have low enough health? I cannot recreate how excited I was when this happened. That feeling of pure joy hearing BJ slurp that fluid off the floor just blew my mind, because I heard that you can drink the blood off the floor, but I never saw it in game. I wish I could hear that man slurp one more time. Okay, where do we go from that? Let's see. It's nice to have the blue dungeon wall texture back. The gimmick here is that all of these doors lead to literally nothing except for an officer or 3, except one of these closets, the 5th one from the top of the map, has a gold key in it that you need to progress. So they want you to check each one of these Nazi closets. Oh shit, that's a lot of them. I'm not sure if this is an EC Wolf thing or a quirk in the Wolfenstein 3D engine as a whole, but the SS in this map have a tendency to open the gold key door on their own when you alert them, regardless of if you have the key. And when I first started this level, I thought, you know, I'll play fair. I'm not gonna go through that doorway until I have the gold key, until I accidentally quick-saved myself after I soft-locked myself. The mandatory push walls to take you to the golden key can soft-lock you if you activate them in the wrong order. Now, I've been making individual saves per level, so the worst that I'm punished here is having to replay the previous level. That's still not fun. At this point, I'd lost all respect I could have given to this map and just blitzed my way through that gold door the second the SS opens it with nothing but my chain gun. Alright, let's make a quick save here to make sure I don't softlock myself. Oh my god, I did it again. We got another push wall here programmed to go 2 directions, but one of them literally fucks you out of a secret, and this has to have been intentional. I get what they're trying to do here. They're trying to be assholes, but it's not fun. Thankfully, the push wall taking you to the blue dungeon area isn't gonna fuck you over, though you would still find your way to this area regardless. It's more of a shortcut to this area. Whoa, now that's a wide fucking elevator. Alright, now hold on a minute, I still missed a couple of Nazis. I'm starting to see a pattern with these episode 4 maps. No matter how many times I play this level, this hallway here is a bitch. You're not gonna have a good time unless you have enough ammo. Unless you come up behind these officers because for whatever reason, sometimes they don't alert everyone. The first boss of the Nocturnal missions is Otto Giftmacher, which literally translates to Poison Maker. The man responsible for the Nazis' chemical weapons opts to use a reskinned projectile, taking the form of a rocket launcher, which is honestly quite impressive for the engine. But in the end, it's still a projectile programmed to leave a trail of sprites behind to simulate smoke, and an explosion animation for when it hits the surface. Again, impressive for the engine. However, it really fucking hurts my ears. Before you fight him, though, you'll need to... Oh, hey, look! Both keys and an unsuspecting guard! Oh, God. Yeah, that's okay. I could just use this push wall here that gives me both of the keys without activating the hordes of Nazis. Fuck you, Tom. Still doesn't mean it's time for Otto yet. I'm just gonna run past him and open these locked doors so I could get some health and ammo before I start open season. Alright, there we go. Now, where were we, Otto? The twisted scientist behind the Nazis' chemical warfare is giblets at your feet, but the fruits of his labor grow elsewhere, including the guarded fortress of Erlangen, where the plans for the upcoming Giftkrieg lay. Infiltrate the castle, steal the plans, and take out General Fettgesicht. Hey, would you believe me if I told you that only 3 maps in Episode 5 had more than 1 sentence worth of notes? Some were even lucky to get that because Episode 5 is just fucking boring. It's not terrible. It's kind of like comparing X6 to X7. Would you prefer a game that's broken and unfinished but has some substance, or just boring? The answer is B. I would rather have something boring. I do like this new blue skull wall texture though. That's pretty nice. I'll never forget this room with the barrels and hordes of SS on the other side. Somehow that's one of the most memorable set pieces in the game for me, despite what I literally just said. Ah, fuck, hold up a second. Excuse me, shithead, I need some ammo. That's better. You know, someone here had the bright idea of putting 2 chain guns in this map just in case, you know, you die twice. I have no idea why any map needs more than one chain gun in it, I'll be honest. Map 4 is the highlight of episode 5 for me. It's a basic level, but I love its symmetrical layout, with each red brick area having its own secret behind a banner. It's basic, but I really liked it. I didn't write down any notes for E5M5, aside from the fact that it leads to this game's secret level, which for that I also don't have a single note about aside from, and I quote, safest secret level in the game. Yep, okay, cool. E5M6, yet another map with 2 chain gun pickups. I do like how this map is a big circle with you diving deeper into the rings inside of the circle, except it still manages to be a slog. E5M7 is at least a better take on the swastika map from earlier on, though there is a push wall near the beginning designed to deliberately cuck you out of a shortcut when looping back if you activate it from the wrong side. It's not a soft lock though, thankfully, you just gotta take the long way back. E5M8, I literally got nothing. It's not until we get to the boss of episode 5 that I finally have something worth talking about. Gretel Gross, or Grossi, the little sister of Hans from episode 1, Gretel, who's just a reskinned variant of the common enemy variant of Hans. It's not even a reskin of the boss version with better accuracy, because even id Software is afraid of having women being as tough as men. The concept art for Gretel describes her as Huey. Her chain gun is a single barrel in it rather than the Gatling-style miniguns that Hans has, but my brain that's assuming the worst from people thinks that they did this to make it look like tits sagging to the side. Just like Hans, she drops a key on death because, again, she's just a reskin. Welcome to episode 6, the worst episode in Wolfenstein 3D in my personal opinion. Although episode 4 is pretty close. Tom bragged that Romero had a hard time with E6M1, which is kinda sad. The exit is visible from your spawn point behind some pillars, clearly another gimmick map where 90% of the gimmick is corner peeking across every inch of this map. Oh my god, these hulls are so fucking annoying. But the secret for the gold key is somewhat clever. This new texture for the walls that has this little divot at the bottom, when you push it back, it gives the appearance of the key coming out of that little hole at the bottom, which is a really small detail, but I really like it. The gold key is only necessary if you're going for 100% treasure, but it's still neat. I still managed to miss some gold though, fuck me I guess. E6M2 was designed by Bobby Prince, the composer of the game. It's a bunch of long hulls in this giant ring around the map to encourage the player to sprint. It's still really fucking boring to be honest, and the doors are placed at what feels like completely random intervals. It's not bad, it's just slow. I was able to run straight to this level's secret elevator because a guard managed to open the gold door, though I didn't know that at first and almost locked myself in here before even finishing the rest of the map. Thank you. You gotta grab the gold key by the main elevator behind 3 push walls and then backtrack all the way back to the beginning to go to the secret elevator. And god, I wish that's the worst thing I had to say about it because, oh boy, this secret level! E6M10, without a doubt the hardest Wolfenstein 3D level that I've played to date, Spear of Destiny expansions notwithstanding. If you're attempting this map pistol start with no quick saves, then A, you deserve a fucking purple heart, and B, there's a chain gun right here at the start, because holy shit, you're going to need it. First off, the mutants are back, and they are a whole bag of fuck. This map is divided into 4 quadrants, with 3 of them having a Hans brother that you need to kill to drop a key. You only need 1 key to finish the map, so you really could just kill one of the Hans brothers, and just book it right to the end, which is in the center of the map. However, because I'm going for all Nazis killed, I was a little bit over my head here. First off, the east side of the map has this bullshit vine segment that's riddled with mutants that blend into the vines. I gave up on clearing this area midway through and left to go to the upper quadrant, but that was a bad fucking idea because the mutants somehow managed to follow me over. But I'm not gonna fucking reload my quick save at this point. If you're starving for ammo in the northern quadrant, you're kinda shit out of luck, cause the only room with ammo up here is the one with the Hans brother. I had to lure that fucker out of here just so that I could get health and ammo, but oh boy, now I've got a Groose on the loose. Grosse on the loose. I found him! Oh shit, Blinky's loose too. Oh, you gotta save this secret for last if you're going for 100%, because once you open this door, Blinky is set loose on the whole fucking map. I came back here later for the recharge, and if you sprint through Blinky, you don't lose too much health, but oh, with how chaotic this map gets, it's not worth letting him free. Oh, last bullet. All right, let's go. All right, there's the last Hans brother, and god fucking damn it, I'm missing 1 fucking Nazi. There you are, you little bitch. That has got to be one of the most monotonous experiences I have ever had with an id Software game, and that says a lot. I've played through Rage. Actually, I don't think it was that bad. Yeah, okay, fuck that other level. I think that this is the most dangerous the dogs have ever been in Wolf 3D. Not much else to say, but E6M4 is a breath of fresh air after the chaos I just had to endure. I got nothing for E6M5, but E6M6 was at least designed to have hordes of enemies wake up the minute they hear a gunshot. I don't know why the hint book is making a big deal about that, because another map did that and did it way more threateningly. E6M7 is... Okay, so you get to the main lobby of this map, which is 4 long hallways with pillars in the armpits that have officers behind them. You shoot some of them, and then you go around, you activate this push wall over here that just gives up halfway through. At this point, I thought, okay, maybe it's just broken, whatever, maybe that is the secret, just pushing it in, and I go on with the level. And I think, okay, maybe that's just consistent, because I make it over here to the other side, symmetrical to the previous push wall that fucked up, and this one is also blocked too. So I keep going, I suffer through this vine maze that isn't as bad as the secret level, but still has officers behind it, at least that doesn't compare to the mutants. I scour the map, collect everything I can, and then I check my score, and I'm missing one fucking Nazi. I go around this map for almost another 10 minutes, doing laps around this bitch to no fucking avail, and so I do what anyone hunting Nazis would do. I open the debug menu, and have the game show me enemies in the auto map, and what do I fucking find? I find that that wall that I pushed, that got stuck midway through, had an officer right fucking behind it. I will not let his bad deeds go unpunished. You! Alright, the final level before the final confrontation. And you know what? It's not that bad of a level, actually. The top and bottom halves are divided into separate dungeons to explore, making small chunks of progress to each respective key. It's really not that bad, though. Holy shit, there are so many guards and not enough ammo to pre-fire when you turn these fucking corners. Thankfully, there's like 3 secrets on the outskirts of the map with tons of health and ammo, so you're not completely SOL. General Fetgesike. Fuck you. The only enemy in the game, let alone a boss, to be equipped with 2 separate weapons. A rocket launcher forcing you to strafe, and a chain gun punishing you for strafing too far. Like every other boss room, it's best to duck into the secret room and bottleneck their henchmen out before taking out the big boss. Alright, fuckhead, shall I have this dance? Oh wait, no, the challenges! I'm going to miss the treasure! The world is now safe from the horrors of Nazi chemical warfare. BJ returns home to receive a Medal of Honor before being informed of activities around Castle Hellhammer. Congratulations, you finished episode 6 of Wolfenstein. You are truly one of the great heroes. The world cheers your name. You get a photo with the president. Oh, no thanks, I don't care who's president, I don't want that. People name their babies after you. Okay, that's pretty cool. You marry a movie star. Oh no, I'm good, thank you. I appreciate the Nazi killing, but I'll pass. Holy shit, these nocturnal missions suck, which is a huge shame because the first 3 episodes of the game, aside from the bullshit hit scans with the mutants, is a pretty good time that I think holds up pretty well with a source port like EC Wolf. Its reliance on hit scan enemies is pretty taxing today. I'd rather play Quake or Doom. And if memory serves, that taxing feeling of hit scans is only made worse in Wolf 3D's prequel, The Spear of Destiny, but we'll get there in time. All things considered though, it's still a pretty cathartic outlet for Nazi killing, and no matter how archaic the game is, that is something that I can always appreciate. Yeah!